time to talk about luxury cruising. From sweet, so sweet, to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Krystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis. I'm really excited to have Bonnie with me here today. Today, we're recording this at the end of October. It's going to drop sometime in November, which is the perfect time for you all to start thinking about your Christmas cruises. Maybe not this season, but when all those cruise influencers start to record and upload their trips about a Christmas cruise, you can start to look at what you might be interested in. Maybe there's a Christmas cruise you want to take. Bonnie's going to share with us all things river cruise Christmas markets and also a little bit outside of the Christmas markets. Like there's more to do in Europe in November and December than just Christmas markets. Bonnie, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Krystal. Well, my name is Bonnie Scott. I'm owner of River Cruise Specialists. I've been traveling internationally since I was 17. My first trip was to Peru, and I've just been traveling ever since in different capacities. I started professionally planning travel in 2020, although that might sound odd. It was a perfect time to set everything up. And so I started out actually doing custom luxury land, very high end, very tedious work, and it was wonderful. But then I went on my very first river cruise. And I decided to completely rebrand and flip everything over to doing 100% river cruising. And that has just been wonderful. And it is a favorite of everyone's. And I'm extremely excited to talk about Christmas markets specifically, because if river cruising isn't on your bucket list, I know Christmas markets is.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Christmas markets, I love your story. And I would just love to know, what was it about that first river cruise that didn't just make you a cruiser, but it inspired you to completely change your entire company?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of misnomers with river cruising, honestly. And whenever I had a chance to experience mine, I realized that the things that people are thinking that they'll expect or experience, I guess, are completely inaccurate. And those are actually the best parts of river cruising. For example, people think that river cruising is very rigid and structured. And if that's the kind of person that you are and that you like out of travel, that's what you can expect. However, it's not rigid. They have many options. So if you have all of these options in front of you and you want to do them all, well, that's your choice. It's all about travel preference. And so that's what you want to do. One day they offered 4 included, and that's specific to cruise lines. So that's something you want to consider when you were looking for a cruise. But I did all 4 of them. I got off of a morning hike. I got on a bus to a winery that was right down the road, did that, got off the bus at the ship, and they had an extra bike. So I went on a 20-mile bike ride and then got off that and went to the Abbey because that was what I wanted to do that day. And they worked with me. They're very attentive and just very kind people on board that will want you to have the best experience. And so because of that, you really can make it whatever you want. I had a couple of friends that I made while I was on the cruise, and they were staying on their balcony, and I just got off my 20-mile bike ride, and I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, we just walked through the village." So, people can make it whatever they want. It's as inflexible or as structured as you want. Some people love this structure, and some days I do. But that's the thing, is that even day to day, once you're on the ship, not all excursions you can choose like that, but a lot of them, especially the included ones, like I had to have an actual bike, to go on a bike ride. So as long as everything lines up and that's what you want to do. Now, I didn't schedule that. So I didn't wake up that morning
Thinking like, hey, let me do
having
4 excursions.
right, right. But they accommodated. And that's it. I think that one big thing that made me just extremely excited about river cruising in general is that it wasn't only what I wanted it to be, it was the most relaxing, most peaceful experience traveling I have ever had. Everything is done for you up front. You don't have to worry about a single thing. And that's what I want out of traveling. And
Likewise.
from my experience or from my side of things, whenever I am planning and coordinating and managing your travel, I always like to tell people, like, you don't want to have to work for your vacation. You don't want to have to just stress yourself out before and during your travel experience. I think that you should just be able to sign up, let somebody else do the work for you, and have the vacation and the travel and the relaxation that you want. And some people want adventure and want the highlight of going out and not knowing or not, that's a different vacation. That's fine. But river cruising specifically is going to be the most relaxed thing that you can experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so awesome, Bonnie. So tell us, what are the options? Which rivers typically will have your river cruise, your Christmas markets?
Yeah. Well, traditionally, you're going to have the Danube and the Rhine, which are similar, but they also have differences. Those are going to be traditionally the two main ones, but they're huge rivers. And even within those two rivers, you have a lot of variation.
Yeah. So are they appreciably different, or what are the differences?
Yeah. First of all, there's a couple of things that I love about river cruising in general that I wanted to incorporate in this because it's going to come into play. This is widely known, but also a lot of people don't realize it, is that instead of skirting around the countries, you're going straight through this continent or continents, because it is worldwide. And you're going straight through these countries, a lot of them that you don't even realize how culturally immersive they really are. And people think the opposite. One of the misnomers is that you aren't getting real cultural immersion, which is not true. You're getting more cultural immersion. Think about these tiny villages that are protected from main tourism, that you are getting a huge cultural immersion, right? So for example, down the Danube, you are going to hit up at least 3 to 4 different, and that's just the northern Danube, 3 to 4 different cultural experiences. Okay. If you're going out of Budapest, Hungary, north towards Nuremberg, you're going to hit Hungary, which is going to vary drastically from Austria and Germany. If you keep going a little bit of France. But my point is that on these river cruises, you're getting multiple different cultural contrasts, and it's incorporated with the Christmas markets, right? So the Budapest Christmas market is going to contrast a lot with the Nuremberg Christmas market, which Nuremberg is, for anybody that doesn't know, is the big Christmas market that everyone's going to think of when they think of traditional German Christmas markets. So that is one that people a lot of times are going to first think of, and that they are going to think that they would definitely want on their itinerary. So people are going to look for that. So that's going to be on the Danube. And so that's going to heavily be a traditional German Christmas market along the northern part of the Danube, right? But you're also getting Vienna, Linz, Budapest. Don't get me started on Budapest. It's one of the most beautiful, underrated cities in all of the world. So that is going to be a highlight. And you can get this in the Rhine too. Another thing, though, that on the Danube specifically, you're going to go through the Vaho Valley, and that is full of the most charming Austrian and a little bit of German small villages. And you're going to get Nuremberg, Vienna, those are going to be larger Christmas markets than Budapest. But then you stop through Passau, and these little villages have their own Christmas markets. And think about how culturally immersive you're going to be whenever you get to stop on these small, very local feel Christmas
And
markets.
I think it's something that I've said a couple of times, and that is, when you go on a river cruise, and even other cruises, especially in Europe, you're going to pass through places and you're going to stop in places that you never would have gone to if
Yeah.
you were just taking a land vacation, right? You might
Absolutely.
go to Budapest and then take a train over to Vienna to experience those two, or to Prague. But those little villages in between, you would never see their, Christmas market that's going to have its own unique features, maybe a little bit more handmade and local crafts rather than just stuff that's been imported. I mean, I'm sure that they're importing things from China and Indonesia and everywhere, just like Christmas markets in the US.
Right. Right. Yeah. I always say that I went to so many of my favorite places that I never knew I needed to go.
Yeah.
And the Vaso Valley is just one of the most, I don't know if you've visited there, but it is one of the most beautiful places I have traveled. It is protected, it's a UNESCO site. And I went through Budapest North route. And so I went through Vienna and Budapest, which are gorgeous, obviously, but they're cities. And then you wake up all of a sudden and you are just in this like pristine local, you're surrounded by these hills out in the middle of the Austrian countryside. So it is special. So let's see. That is going to be the Danube.
I think for many people, that sort of like Austria, Hungary, Germany, it kind of all blends together, but really it's not. Like they're very distinct. They're different countries, they're distinct cultures. And so, yeah, I'm sure the food is going to be different. We talked about the crafts are going to be different. Obviously, the language that goes on is going to be different. And the cultures, because Hungary was an Eastern Bloc country, it's, now before the Soviet Union fell, Germany probably has some influences also from its time of being split between East Germany and West Germany. So that may also play into the differences in the Christmas markets and just the environment and the feel of them. So definitely that
Absolutely.
would be a really interesting just to see the progression of the different Christmas markets through the different countries. So amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so the Rhine is one of my favorite parts because it's in parts of Europe in general. Everything is so tight knit, but you just get so much cultural experience. So if you move a little bit west to the Rhine, that's going to go through Switzerland all the way up to Amsterdam, and even that river, it has so much cultural diversity. It's really cool. So let's see, something that one of the river cruise companies at Uniworld has started to do is go into Belgium as a Christmas market cruise. And that is unique. Not everybody is going to go through Belgium, but Belgium, their Christmas markets have actually been rated as some of the top ones in Europe, top Christmas markets in Europe. And from the American perspective, we know the German Christmas markets, right? And we don't really think outside the box. And so, but the Belgian Christmas markets are a very big deal in Europe. And we don't really understand that sometimes just because everything is, we understand what we're focused on. So the northern part of the Rhine, that's going to be a really cool experience, provided it's unique from World, one of my very favorite cruise lines. I play favorite sometimes. And this is where culturally you're going to have a lot of a contrast and you can experience the different ones if you go over there multiple times. But so the traditional German Christmas markets, also, Austria and Germany play off.
They're similar. Yeah.
Right. So that is going to be, like you said earlier, a lot of craft, local craft, handmade gifts and that sort of thing. Of course, there's the traditional German food that they'll have that. But as far as a focus, we really think, and this is where America plays off of our Christmas markets as well, handmade crafts and woodworking and that sort of thing. Now, if you go up through Belgium, north on the Rhine, they are going to focus a lot more on food and drink and that sort of thing. So that's kind of their specialty. And traditionally, that's what their markets are going to be about.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's so many different regional contrasts within France, right? And so another unique thing about World is that they have this itinerary called Magical Parisian Holiday, I think. And so it's going to dabble Christmas markets, but you get at least one big one in Paris. It's very Parisian and French influence, obviously, but they're going to bring in all of these local vendors from all over France. So you're going to get a lot of variation just by going to this one or two markets in Paris. And then obviously you get to go through the lower part of the Rhine as well. So, I mean, that is a huge...
That sounds amazing.
Right, I know.
And is that one particular line that does that itinerary or...
That itinerary is Uniworld.
Uniworld specifically, yeah.
And one thing I want to touch on is how to pick out the right itinerary, because a lot of the classic Christmas market cruises are going to be, like I said, like you are going to a Christmas market every single day. And there might be a few other excursions thrown in there where you can pick and choose.
So tell us, like, how would somebody know what's the best itinerary for them? How would you start to advise a client about if they want to go, whether it's Seine, Danube, one that's more Parisian focused versus one that's got some markets, but also lots of, history and cultural experiences
Yeah.
as well?
I love that question. Well, I would say talk to your travel advisor. But my point is that whenever I am talking to somebody about the different cruise lines, I always tell people it's more of a personality match than anything, and which is like one of my favorite parts of the job. And because everyone has their own idea of what travel is. So I can't just sit here and say, oh, everyone loves this one. I know all of the river cruise lines, and I know they all have different styles. They all have different inclusive opportunity. Some are going to include, and this is an overarching idea of how I plan travel or river cruising for clients. Okay. But that's kind of the point, is that if somebody comes to me, I'm like, well, what is it you want? And applies to what you want out of a Christmas market or a Christmas cruise. Um, and I say Christmas cruise because the magical Parisian cruise with Uniworld, you get a few markets in there. But then you're also getting this like beautiful holiday winter wonderland experience and a lot more variety in your excursions. But if you do want to go back to back to back markets, those are out there also. And so it all has to do with how inclusive you want it to be. There's just so many different variables, and it just depends on how people view what their trip is going to be. And then I go in and find the appropriate cruise line and compare all these itineraries for you, just depending on what you want. So I need people's feedback so that I can find the best fit.
Yeah. Yeah. And people need to go in knowing what their expectation is and what they're looking for as well.
Right, right. And so if people are interested in France, so they've been 5 times, I'm not going to sit there and suggest a Parisian market. I want them to get what they want. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a best time to go? One thing that we should probably talk about is the fact that Christmas markets, it's a very distinct time during the year when there are Christmas markets.
Mhm.
And do you want to talk a little bit about like the timing and, when is the best time to go? Is there times that are like too early or too late? What are the shoulder seasons, so to speak, of Christmas market?
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be a good little segue. I'm sure people have heard of this on the waterways. It's just kind of an example. They have Christmas market cruises, right? And then they have other holiday themed cruises that are called festive delights. And so the reason I'm telling you that is because the Christmas market cruises are going to have the Christmas markets. And then the festive delights are kind of holiday themed, but they may not fall in that window of when markets are available, but you still want to go. And maybe you are like, oh, next year I'll do the markets, but this year I just kind of want it because I'm not available during the markets. Now, there is an exact window. Well, not exact, but a specific window. And they will start around our Thanksgiving, and then they will end pretty abruptly a couple of days before Christmas, and they are done. So that's another thing. You definitely want to look at the itineraries. And if you have a travel advisor, talk to them because they're going to help you. You wouldn't want to be gung-ho and extremely excited about a Christmas market cruise and then sign up for a cruise and then realize that you're outside that window. Nobody wants that.
Spoiler alert, Christmas market cruises are not New Year's Eve cruises. So if you're thinking about a Christmas market cruise, you're not going to be leaving, let's say a lot of people leave like on the 25th or the 26th. Like that's not going to be a Christmas market cruise.
Right. Now they do have some very popular holiday themed cruises that will leave right at Christmas and after Christmas and lead into, and then you can be on the ship for New Year's and it's a big celebration, but you are not going to stop at a Christmas market. Correct.
Yeah.
Just be aware that that is very much a thing. There's going to be a good time to travel, and then there's going to be the best times to book. So you want to take in consideration both of those things. The most popular time for people to travel is going to be the beginning of Christmas for the Christmas markets, the beginning of Christmas all the way up to Christmas. And those are going to book out far in advance. So if you are wanting to book
When
like
you say
right
the
now,
beginning of Christmas, what time frame is the beginning of Christmas?
I'm sorry, beginning of December.
Okay. Yeah.
So the most popular time to travel is going to be the beginning of December all the way up to Christmas. And those are going to book out far in advance. So if you're thinking about a Christmas market cruise and that is your ideal time to travel, there are going to be spatterings of availability, definitely. But those are also going to book out. If you want your options of staterooms, then I would definitely look at those now, even for 2027, because they do book out very far in advance. However, I have been over to Europe around like the Christmas time at the end of November, around Thanksgiving, and that was just the most enjoyable time to go, in my opinion. And those are going to be from mid-November to the end of November, beginning of December. Those are going to be very much more accessible in terms of booking. If you're wanting to go more last minute, and last minute, I mean, sometimes it's a year in advance, and those are when they're available. Um, but yeah, that's as far as popular time to travel, December. And then if you're available towards the end of November, then definitely take a look at those. They're going to be a little less crowded, and pricing is going to be better too.
Yes. Are the Christmas markets up? Like, let's just say our Thanksgiving week. A lot of people do like to travel that week of Thanksgiving. Do you
Mhm.
think that there'll be Christmas markets already up?
Yes. Yes. They'll start. And obviously, I don't want to hammer this, but if you're working with a travel advisor, you're going to have somebody to advocate and look into all of those
Yeah.
details for you to make sure that that's accurate. However, yes, mid-November towards Thanksgiving, those are going to be the times where all the markets are starting. So it's a little bit of a gray area. However, I'm pretty confident that they're going to have started by
Yeah.
then.
Well, I just think it's also if people have families, especially let's say you've got some older teens or even young kids that you want to, I mean, Christmas markets are fun. And so if you want to have that experience with your kids, and not take them out of school for a week, especially towards the end of sort of like the winter
Oh yeah.
semester, Thanksgiving week is a really good time if you have some Christmas markets. And again, maybe it's not just like one Christmas market after another because they're not all up. It's a built-in way to mix in some Christmas markets and some, cultural experiences. So I
Absolutely,
think
and it's great time with your family. I want to point out another great attribute of Alma Waterways is that they have the most like Christmas spirit on board. So even if it's not back-to-back Christmas markets on board, they have carolers and just decked out decor, and you're going to get that outside of the ship as well. So even though they don't have specific like young children itineraries at Christmas time, they do otherwise actually, but they do such a great job at just the whole festive spirit. And so if you're wanting some great family time just together in a very festive way, that is a really great option. And
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And people are getting whole weeks off for Thanksgiving. I know a school in the area that gets two. So, that is a perfect time to travel with your family. Even with children, I would love to take my son over there during Christmas time.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the best time to book. I did a little bit, but the best time to book if you're wanting all the options. But now for the future, say 2026 or 2027, they're having some really wonderful early booking pricing. So, and most of
Yeah.
them, you don't have to pay in full. You're just getting a deep discount. So take that into consideration. But however, if you are willing and want to and able to book last minute, there are some steals out there for 2025. It is not too late. There is availability. And I mean, they are deeply discounted right now. So it is not too late. And there's so much out there. I know Uniworld is doing like $2,000 off per person, which brings
Wow.
it under $3,000 per person, which is unheard of, especially such a popular time
Yeah.
of year to travel. And then On the Waterways has some very deep discounts as well on
Yeah.
their 2025
So
Christmas markets.
if anybody's listening to this in real time in 2025
Yeah.
and wants to jump on those, reach out to Bonnie. She can probably
Now is the time.
find them for you. So I live in Chicago. We have quite a few Christmas markets that happen. There's one downtown, there's one
Mhm.
close to Wrigley Field. What can I expect to be the difference between like a US Christmas market and a European one?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So I am in Indianapolis, and we have the Caramel Christkindl Market, which is fabulous every year. It's so fantastic. So our markets here in the United States are going to be replicas of the ones in Germany, correct? I mean, that's what we see as a Christmas market is the traditional German Christmas market. And I know that the one here in Carmel, they require all of their vendors to be German based in some capacity. That's pretty pure, I feel like, but it's going to be like anything else over here that we try to replicate from somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
It's a replica still. It's very Americanized. But I know that the ones that I've been to have done a really great job.
So
It's,
maybe get
I
a
don't know.
feel.
It's-
Do you like, I mean, I'm sure the food is very different. I've been to the ones like this is very Americanized food. They do have some wines and you get the beer steins and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But right, it's maybe, a starter Christmas market, a way to see like, is this
Right.
something I even enjoy
Yeah.
doing? And then if you do, you can say like, yeah, let's go to Europe and experience the real thing.
Right. Right.
Amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think
Amazing.
like when we go to the one in Carmel, people travel from states away just to go to that one. So, if that's something that you want to experience, or the one in Chicago, I know is also really good. Try that out. But it is heavily German traditionally. So you get a good feel of what it will be like. You're not in Germany, but
Yeah, but you get a sense. Yeah, good to
Right.
know. So when I think of Christmas markets, I think exclusively about Europe, as we talked about. Are there any other areas that have Christmas markets or Christmas market cruises?
Yeah. So there's going to be other parts of the world that have these huge festivities and maybe some markets attached to them. They're going to be more celebrations. But I do know that in Sydney, they do have Christmas markets. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing. So because a lot of people will travel around that part of Australia, maybe from Asia or the other part of Australia. And in Sydney, they're going to have the complete opposite climate of us, right? So if you're wanting to take a trip on an ocean cruise down to Sydney around Christmas time, then you can escape the winter here. I know Chicago, Indianapolis, like that's definitely something I'd consider, and get to a warmer climate. And you're going to experience some very culturally contrasted Christmas markets there.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think what a lot of people in North America may not realize is that the winter is the Australian cruise season, and that a
Mhm.
lot of the US based cruise ships will like cross over to Australia and spend the winter there. So you could potentially fly to Australia, do a little bit of a land vacation, visit some Christmas markets in Sydney, and then hop on a boat and do a South Pacific cruise, which is a completely different itinerary from what it's sort of like their Caribbean, but experience all that, Easter Island, Vanuatu, all of those amazing places, and then fly home. I mean, that sounds like an amazing Christmas vacation to me.
Right? And you could do it all in the warmth. Yeah,
Yes.
you can fly into Sydney early. A lot of cruises will embark and disembark in Sydney. So before or after, you can just spend a few days exploring how they celebrate Christmas at their markets and then move on to the ship. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, Bonnie, this has been so helpful. I'm so appreciative of you coming on the podcast to talk about the Christmas markets. If people want to find you, maybe book their Christmas market or any other type of river cruise, how can they do that?
Yeah. Email me. It's Bonnie at river-cruise-specialists, plural.com. Or it's 479-381-1410. And I basically just hear what you would like to do. And like I said, I kind of personality match the best itinerary and cruise line for you and would love to hear from you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll definitely put all of that in the show notes. And to the listeners, thank you again for being here. As always, until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.
Thank you.
Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.